I'm Eddie Mello, and welcome to another episode of Car Habit Garage. On today, I think we've got a good one. I'm actually going to talk about Restomods and what my ideal e36 M3 Restomod will look like. So let's go ahead and get into it. I'm going to share some pictures here with you guys, and you can see the first one is a beautiful 96 e36 M3 in Dakar Yellow. So when I talk about my perfect Restomod, I'm speaking specifically right now to the e36 that I'm building, the M3. So my ideal spec for an e36 M3, I want you to have three takeaways from this. One, the Restomod market is taking off. So a lot of people love the look and feel of an old car. When I say look and feel, they like the way it looks, they like the way it makes them feel on the outside. They're unique, you don't see them every day. But the thing missing is if you've ever driven a 25 or 30 or 40 or 50-year-old car, they rattle, they're not very comfortable, the air conditioning a lot of times doesn't work, or the heaters. And so what people are looking for is those modern conveniences. And so you're seeing all sorts of, not just videos, but cars that are being sold that have look almost like they did it originally, but have an upgraded drivetrain and modern electronics. So the market's taking off, remember that. The second thing is I want to share with you what I believe is my ideal spec for my e36 M3. And the third takeaway is the cost and challenges and trade-offs that I'm encountering as I try to build a California smog-legal LS3 M3. And we'll go into depth through each one, but let's first of all, let's take a look at that we see as a good definition of a Restomod, right? So if you can see on the slide here, this shows you kind of the two of the known Restomod guys. And these guys are at the highest level. When you talk about Singer Porsche, or you talk about Icon building their Bronco BR, or their FJ, which is their reimagined version of the Toyota Cruiser. I mean, those cars are almost completely bespoke. They've been completely sorted. They have modern drivetrains, even though they might retain, like in Singer's case, an air-cooled engine. It's typically a 500 horsepower air-cooled engine. And the interiors are beautiful. They're fully custom. The sound systems in there are just magnificent. These cars are candidly much, much better than they ever were if they were restored to their original shape. Now, they might not be worth as much money, and they have a different value to a different person. Someone who's collecting cars and wants a vintage, well-kept Porsche, might look down upon what Singer has done. But they're beautiful cars, they're bespoke, they're probably better than they ever were. Same thing with Jonathan Ward and what he has done at Icon. I mean, they're truly amazing, just the craftsmanship. It's almost artistry at that point in time. But, the classic definition is really a car that tries to hold to the old look and yet has that modern drivetrain, has the modern, all the accoutrements you're used to today. So, if you're used to having an iPhone and having CarPlay or Android Auto, it should work, right? Having air conditioning, it actually keeps you cool. Having comfortable seats, people take those for they want those, or having a better suspension, or having a car that doesn't creak. Those are the challenges, right? And that's why people pay a lot of money. I mean, if you can get in line to get a Singer Porsche, I think they start at $500,000. And I've heard of cases of people trying to buy their way in line or buy a car for, north of $800,000 for a car. And for the Icons, I think the Broncos or the FJs, I think they're like about $250,000 to get your very own. And it's, once again, get in line in 6 months. So that's kind of the definition of a Restomod. Now, I want to share with you what I'm doing. And, my ideal spec is I don't have the money right now to spend to do a complete, full restoration. But I'm trying to do as much of it as I can, and I want the car to be the way I want it. So when I say that, I'll go through kind of the three areas. It's the exterior, it's the mechanicals, and it's the interior. So I really wanted an in color only. So I want Dakar yellow. I want the car to be people to think like it looked like that when it drove off the factory floor, right? I want a factory wing because not every M3 came with a factory wing. And when I say that, I specifically, when I purchased one, I got one that was original from the factory with the wing and didn't have the third brake light in the rear window. I'm looking to upgrade. Let's be honest, if you have driven an e36, I had one new back in 1997, and it was hard for me when I first got into this 96 after I acquired it. I drove it at night, and the lights are just horrible. They suck. So not only are they plastic, they fog up, they do things that they just don't work very well. So I'm going to put the ZKWs, I'm going to go with the glass headlights that you could have got if you bought the car in Europe, and buy xenons. So I should get a much better light that goes much further and you can drive and actually be safer at night. And then the last thing for the exterior for me is doing the wheels. That's still TBD. The challenge with the E36 is I've rolled the fenders as much as I can roll them without, doing some distortions, and I didn't want to add flares or any kind of flaring to the fenders. So I want to wait till I get the car back and then see what size tire. I think I can do, I'd love to do a square setup if I could, and if I could get 255s, 9-inch rims on 18-inch 18x9s, that is ideal. But that, I want to take my time and try a lot of different wheels and try 18s and original 17s. So I'm going to let the car come back with the original style, the DS2 rims. Apologize, I'm forgetting the number they are right now. But that'll be really key for me. And then the second, the thing that I want people to walk away with is, so I am a Restomod. I bought a car that had already been resprayed and had never been in an accident. And it had a little bit of rust. So the rust is being repaired, and the paint is good enough that we can blend it in. So I've already repainted, had all the car. The car is actually in the build right now, and I will get to the build next week. But the paint is going to be resprayed, so it'll look, and I'll have it buffed out and everything, but it should look pretty pristine. The paint guys think they can make it work with just partial resprays of certain areas and then buff out the rest of the paint. We're going to get it to match. We'll see how that works out. If a respray is needed, we'll do it. So that is the exterior right there. So remember the couple things I said. Now let's go to the engine, suspension, and brakes, right? So those are the mechanicals. So remember, this is a carb legal LS3 M3. Right, so it's mandatory that I get a carb EO sticker so I can register it and drive it in California. And most people that do swaps don't take it to that degree to make it California legal, but I am. So I'm using a brand new crate motor from GM. I'm using an LS3, and I'm also I have the cats and everything that are brand new, and then I'm buying the rest of the emissions equipment off of a donor 2010 Camaro SS with the same engine setup. So I'll get the purge valves, the fuel pumps, all the things I need to pass the evap portion and make sure that I have no cell lights, check engine lights on when I go for the bar referee and to get approval for the swap. It's going to use the T56 Super Magnum. I actually bought a Connect and Cruise from GM Performance. They make it pretty easy. It's not cheap, but you know what you're getting, and it's brand new engine and training. The car came with actually TC Klein coilovers. It's a nice setup, and it's lowered at a nice stance right now. I want to keep that stance. So, and they're in very good shape. They're not used quite a bit. But what I am doing is the F-cabs, many of the front suspension and the rear suspension have already been changed. The rear shock mounts were reinforced, and we are going with OEM rubber bushings. Most of the engine kits you see for LS swaps or a lot of E36 are polyurethane bushings. I'm looking for a car that looks and sounds that's fun to drive, but isn't so harsh that you get NVH or noise harshness from the vibration of the engine or the transmission. So we've gone out of our way to use OEM rubber. And then for the brakes, the car's going to weigh about the same. And I'm not planning on really taking it any track days. If I do, I might actually go to a big brake kit or something along those lines. But what I am going to do is the M3 came with pretty good braking system. I am going to go with some much better pads and make sure I've got some high performance brake fluid, etc. And then the last thing on the mechanicals will be, I'm going to use a custom exhaust. I have the cats being placed on there. We'll probably do some kind of crossover, but I'm going to feed it all back through the original M3 muffler. So it looks stock, but also the sound isn't too bad. I've seen and heard the sound, and the sound to me is very key. I can't be too loud, but it's got to be loud enough to know and so you can hear it when you're driving the car. So that'll be really key. So that, for my ideal spec on mechanicals, that's what I'm looking for. And as you can see, I'm showing you a picture right now of the Crate LS3 motor that I bought. So let's get to the interior. And so a lot of people, this is one of the big things around people right now, that what you want in a car. Because where do you spend your most time? Yeah, you love the way it looks on the outside, but you're not really staring at it from the outside. You're actually driving it from the inside. So making sure the seats are comfortable, that it doesn't have any strange smells. I mean, this is a 25-year-old car, so we're taking the carpet, we're having it all professionally cleaned and detailed, and if need be, we can actually get a carpet kit and replace it. The Vader seats are undergoing some new padding and restoration, so the actual leather is in very good shape, but the padding is starting to break down on the driver's side. So we're having that replaced, and then while we're at it, we're going to add heated seats. So we'll put the heating elements and we'll wire the switches up and everything in the harness for the seats with the Vaders. The next thing, as you can see from the pictures I'm showing, is we're going to go with a Euro-style 3-spoke steering wheel, and I'm going to do Alcantara for that, as you can see. And instead of the blue stripe you see, it'll have a yellow stripe. I'm going to do the yellow stripe to match the yellow car on the outside. And it'll be a flat bottom wheel, so it will be custom. It won't be a standard 3-spoke Euro wheel, but it will have an airbag, and I think it will be a nice touch to the interior. When it comes to the dashboard, the instrument cluster, the challenge you have there with the US Instruments cluster is it doesn't have a lot of information. It wasn't very pretty, very plain. So what I'm going to do is try to make it look a little bit more like the E36 and some of the newer M3s. And I'll put the brushed aluminum rings to kind of outline the gauges, and then I'll make sure that all the gauges are updated with brand new bulbs. Same with all the lights in the car, all the lights actually around the entire car. And then with that, I think the thing for me that's really important if I'm going to drive this thing every day is I am on the phone a lot, or I'm listening to Spotify, or I'm listening to a podcast. Apple CarPlay is necessary, or some people like Android Auto, whatever your flavor, but for me, it's Apple CarPlay. And so I have a very shallow deck Alpine unit going in there. It's almost a 7-inch display screen with a custom bezel. It'll look like it came that way from the factory. I'm going to move the air conditioning controls down, and I'm going to get rid of the onboard computer, because the only thing the onboard computer will give me really, in essence, is the temperature and the time, and I can get both of that off the Apple CarPlay. I am probably going to add a CAN bus adapter that will show me the temperature of the engine, of the oil pressure. So there will be a specific electronic gauge that will go there. But I'm going to move the stack down, and it'll be really nice, right? But that's just the piece you see. What you won't see is that I'm going to go with focal speakers. So I'll eliminate the mid in the doors, but I will put the tweeter and replace those. And I might even use the BAV sound, some of the new Stage 1, just the mounting units that they sell. And then in the front kick panels, I have focal speakers going there. I'm going to do 6x9s in the back with some focals. It's really just to fill in. I'm actually going to put a new 5-channel amplifier in and a subwoofer. It's not going to be crazy, but it's going to sound way better than any of the E36 sound systems did. And I'll run RCA cables all the way to the back, and I'll use the existing speaker wire in the doors for the mids and the fronts, actually, and the rears as well. But the key there is that it'll have all that functionality you're looking for from your car, and look nice and look bespoke. Plus, I'm going to add the OEM armrest. My car did not come with it, so the OEM armrest will be added. And then I'm going to use an Alcantara shift boot, and I'll probably do an Alcantara parking brake boot. Right now I'm debating whether I do yellow stitching or if I do the traditional M colors, which is the red and blue. But I'll make that decision as we go along. I just want to see samples of both. So That's my ideal spec. I've now covered the exterior, I've covered the mechanicals, and then I've covered the interior. So now let's just talk about the budget. So this is not going to be cheap. Even though I bought the best car I could, I'm not doing a complete restoration or imagining like you would see from Singer or from Icon, not even close. But I'm going to have a very nice car, and it's going to cost me some money. I'm guesstimating right now, after doing some spreadsheet analysis, about $60,000 to $70,000 out the door, which is not, it's not trivial. It's a lot of money, but I will have something extremely unique, especially for here in California. I know there are a lot of LS swaps out there for E36s, but I only know of one other one that's actually California legal to register and drive in the state. The time frame, let's talk about that. So on the last video I showed you the search, it took me about 2 months to find the car. On this, I think it's going to take about 10 months from end to end. So by the time I ship the car to Michigan to my builder, Jake, at Classic Daily, I think I should get the car back either in late August or early September. That'll probably be around 10 months when you start to count in the search time, from the time I had the idea to the time we actually made it happen. So that's the time frame. Now let's talk about the challenges. So some of them are the CARB requirements. That's the California Air Resources Board, and you go to the state referee bar station. The rules are the rules. They're a little vague, but we've talked to the referee, we've been in communication, and we have a couple of exemptions, and we're looking forward to it, right? So we're playing within the rules, and we're building it to spec. So when I get to the build, you'll see all the things that we had to do. There's 5 or 6 critical areas that we had to modify on the car in order to make the LS3 fit and have all the emissions equipment. The second thing is just parts orders. You've heard of the chip shortage. It's really impacted everything. Our crate engine was back ordered. We finally changed the look of our accessory drive. We just chose one because it was in stock and we could make it work. That's our air conditioning unit. That's all of the pulleys and everything else to drive. And so you'll see some of the parts back ordered. So that's been a challenge. And then there's the unknowns. And there's 2 types of unknowns. There's the known unknowns, which are kind of like what we think we could have problems with, like with CARB. Those are pretty solvable because there's only so many areas we can run into problems. The more critical unknowns are the things we don't know as we go into the build. If there's more rust and we need to repair things, is there something that we didn't see that needs to be changed or fixed if the paint requires. So all those will either impact time and or money. So my goal is to build this thing for between 60 and 70, and I would be okay with that. If I could do it for less, even better. But that's where I think it's going to land. And the ultimate goal is to get that CARB sticker that you see up on the screen right now. That's what it takes. So once you have that sticker, you can get it smogged at any smog station. You don't have to worry about getting pulled over. You have a legal car. So guys, I hope you really liked it. If you do, please hit the subscribe button. We try to go in pretty in-depth around this build at Car Habit Garage. We try to, we're catering to those people that really do like Restomods and are looking at buying, 80s and 90s cars. I call this the Radwood Special. After the car culture that Radwood has spurned. But please hit the subscribe button. Leave us feedback if you like the video. Tell us why. If you hate the video, tell us why. If you think our choices are wrong, let us know. But once again, I appreciate your time and have a great day.